Right. All right. Good evening, Miss Almeida, we just hit 100.
Yay.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. Tonight, our purpose for this meeting is to begin the college process for the class of 2022, which all at once feels really exciting and really overwhelming. But what we've learned is that the sooner we start, the better off we are. So tonight, what we have planned is to give you an overview, and we have several pieces set up. So what we have tonight, I'm going to introduce everybody in just a moment. We have three really important groups of people with us. We have a panel designed with some current seniors who are going to give us some insight. We have a panel of some parents of seniors that can give us some insight. And then we have a panel with 4 college missions advisors that are going to give us some really important insights and some great insider information. So we appreciate them being here. We're going to do formal introductions in just a moment. And like I said, tonight's the kickoff, tonight's the beginning. And we also have a ton of programming planned for March, April, May. So in March, we have career panels, we have college panels with young alumni. In April, we're going to do college application and financial aid 101. We're going to hold several seminars. And then in May, we're going to focus on the college essay and college exploration. And our goal is that by June, when we break for the summer, that everybody has an understanding of 2 things, fit and affordability. And we want to make sure that we have conversations, and we have a lot of conversations about what's the right school for me, what's the right school for my child, and also how am I going to pay for it? Because right now we think those are the 2 most important questions to be asking. And what we've learned over the years, and our experts and our guests are going to share this today, is those 2 questions are really interrelated. So fit and affordability go hand in hand. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about tonight, as well as over the next few months. So let me introduce everybody that's here. And as I sort of call people off, if folks wouldn't mind unmuting and just saying hello. So we have a really large college team, and that's by design. The college process truly takes a full village, and we have a village at school. So first and foremost, we have 2 incredible guidance counselors, our 2 college counselors who go so much more beyond college. But Miss Finch and Miss Olmedo, would you say hello?
Hello, everyone. Welcome. So exciting to be here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Miss Finch, and I'm glad you guys showed up tonight. Looking forward to speaking with you.
We also have some members of our that are some of our partners that work with us. So we have Miss Amanda from Stepping Stone Scholars.
Good evening, everyone.
And we have Mr. Caleb, who's our AmeriCorps Vista, oversees all of our partnerships.
Hi, everyone.
We would be lost without Mr. Newman, who's our volunteer extraordinaire for the past, I can't even remember, he's been with us for so long, and you'll hear from Mr. Newman in a bit.
Hi, everybody. Yep. I have a few short remarks.
We also have Mr. TB is here, and then Miss Jones and Mr. Pramalis are going to hopefully pop in as well, but Mr. TB is one of our senior SEM teachers.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you.
All of these folks are going to share a little later on, and they all bring a different level of expertise that we'll hear more from everybody as we go on. We have 4 incredible students. So Siani is here.
Hi, everyone.
Millie is here.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Millie. Caleb is here.
Hey, what's going on, everyone?
And Jonathan is here.
Nice to meet y'all.
We have 2 wonderful parents, Miss Ang.
Hi, everyone.
And Dr. Roberts.
Hi, glad to be here.
And we have 4 college admissions reps. So in no particular order, just the way they are in my notes. Andrew Moe from Swarthmore College.
Hey, everyone, glad to be here.
Sequoia Dillingham from Penn State.
Everyone, thanks for allowing me to join you guys.
Sarek Austin, who was with Bloomsburg and is now at Cheney and is going to bring a whole host of knowledge that we're thrilled about.
Good evening, everyone. Happy to be here.
And Brian O'Doherty from CCP, from Community College.
Good evening, everybody.
So we have a lot of people here. And I mentioned this earlier, before we kick it off and begin with our student panel, I want to borrow a phrase from our beloved 76ers and ask everybody to trust the process a little bit. And like we said earlier, this might feel overwhelming. This is a huge decision, going off to college, figuring out how we're going to pay for this, what's the right school. It might feel overwhelming for some of you. As I was going over the notes for tonight, it felt overwhelming to me. Miss Amanda and I were talking about it earlier, and I said, my daughter's going to be here one day, and I can't imagine what it's going to feel like to sit in that seat. But our goal for tonight is really to provide a lot of information, and we know we're going to provide a lot of information tonight, but we also want to couch that in saying this is just the beginning. This is the first step on a long journey. And we know that if we start this journey in September, we're going to be so far behind where we need to be. So we're so grateful that you're here. We're so grateful that you'll engage with us. And as you might feel overwhelmed, as things begin to pick up, please ask questions. Please reach out. We are here for you to take you through this process. What we've learned over the past few years, we know we can get our students into the best college with a whole lot of financial aid. Debt-free is our goal, and we want to help you take those steps. But to do that, we got to do it the right way, and the goal starts, the journey starts tonight towards that goal. The other piece that I will mention before we jump into this is we have 114 people in this Zoom room. And we imagine it's going to continue growing a bit. To keep it moving, we're going to ask that you write all of your questions in the chat. Miss Amanda is going to keep track of those questions. And at the end of the night, we will come back to all the questions that were asked. And if something isn't addressed tonight, we promise we will follow up and make sure that we can get you whatever information we need. Team, did I miss anything? Excellent. Let's start off with our students. So we worked with our students just in full transparency. We're not going to ask every student to answer every question. We have a couple questions we're going to ask. And Siani, Millie, Caleb, and Jonathan, I'm going to throw a couple to you individually, and we'll take it from there. So my first question is going to go to Millie and Caleb. And Caleb, can you go first? And Millie, you go second. Can you talk about when you started the process for searching for colleges?
So I started during the end of my junior year. So I started around the time when quarantine started, and I started looking for colleges and everything. But I really started like the hardcore, like college essay writing and everything like that. I started that over, I think it was like July, and I got some assistance from the Drexel College Access Academy, and that's a great program for any juniors that are looking to get some extra help with applying to college, because it was a week-long process, and they walked me through exactly what needed to be done, and that's what really jump-started my college process. It's also good to put on your resume. So yeah.
Okay. All right.
Millie?
Well, for me, I started my college process around the beginning of my junior year. I'm a part of the Philadelphia Futures program, the College Connection, and they started us very early with figuring out what's our fit, how much will we need in financial aid, our personal statements. So we started out pretty early and really got to the hard stuff during the summer of the end of my junior year.
Okay. Cool.
Excellent. Two quick pieces there, just to highlight allow for partnerships. Something we always say at school is smart people ask for help. So I'm thrilled to hear about different partnerships and different support. Siani and Jonathan, can you chime in? What are things that you learned? What might be some things that you would do differently given where you are now and what you've learned?
I would say that I would procrastinate less. That is such a hard thing for me. It was very overwhelming, and I would say that I would have applied to scholarships earlier as well, because now I'm currently in that process, and it gets a bit overwhelming, having about five scholarship essays due for the month, for whatever month.
Okay, Jonathan.
Jonathan, how about you?
I would say I agree with Yanni, like don't procrastinate. Because I'd say for me personally, like my anxiety was kind of proportional to the uncertainty I had. So the more you just get head on and just kind of tackle information, you definitely feel better. It's a stress reliever just to at least go over the information. Like even if it's a term you don't know, just give it a quick Google and figure it out. And I'd say it helps to just start something, even if you just like make a spreadsheet template. Like don't fill it out, just make a template, and then you probably fill it out later. So yeah.
So Jonathan, let me stay with you then. So with that, can you think of a specific challenge as well as a specific support that helped you come through some of that?
I think the specific challenge was narrowing down my colleges, because it was easy to narrow down to like I wanted to go to a specific like engineering college, and then there was a bunch of engineering colleges and there's like different levels. So I'd say a lot of tools that helped me was mostly Khan Academy. Khan Academy has like a course of like it explains like what type of financial aid you're getting. It displays like difference between colleges and like what to look for in colleges. So between the whole can you afford this versus do you like the college? Like you couldn't, even if you can afford it, you wouldn't want to spend 4 years hating college. So
Ziani, how about you? What was an important support for you along the way?
Well, first I would say my parents. They were just constantly reassuring me that I could do it and just congratulating me on my acceptances. So that felt great. And then secondly, I would like to thank TV, Mr. Newman, and Mr. Winokur. They helped me so much with my college applications and getting my essays done and practicing for interviews, and also supporting me and motivating me and just letting me know that I could do it and that I will be a great success in the future.
Caleb, over to you. What was a challenge? And then Millie, I'm going to come back down to you for a support.
I would say a challenge was just all of the supplement essays. And I think this goes back to why like we should start this, like it's good to start the college process early, because especially for my major, because I'm a music business major, and that comes with a lot of supplements. That's something that I would start early, because the due dates come up fast, and it's just, yeah, that was my hardest part. I was getting really overwhelmed with all these essays that I had to write and the recommendations, and yeah, so that's what I would say, start early.
Millie, what was a support that was important for you?
Oh, I had many supports really, and it really did encourage me. For one, my coordinator at Philadelphia Future, they will always be on your butt about everything, your deadlines, when you have to do this, that. They'll give you all these offers for different scholarships, opportunities, and it really did help me keep track of all my stuff. And then when it came to my essays, Newman and TB really were superstars. Oh my God. I did mine rather late because I did procrastinate, and they really came back with the feedback and everything I needed. It really prepared me to make sure it was great. And I can't appreciate them enough for that.
So to close out our panel, and I'm going to ask each of you to respond to this one. It is February 17th. What advice do you have for the juniors and the junior families that are in the room right now?
My advice would to not be overwhelmed by information, and that TB and domers and all teachers will stress you about getting it done starting early, but you don't need to have it figured out right now. You don't need to have it figured out 1 to 2 by now. It's just about getting it started and eventually figuring it out.
Ziani? Go ahead, Caleb.
One thing I would say is really use your supports, especially the supports we have at ENS, like TB, Mr. Newman. Like, these people really care about you and they really want you to succeed. So I would say definitely go to them and have them look over your essay, ask them any questions that you have. because that was like the deciding factor if my essay was strong enough or if my applications were ready. So yeah, I would say definitely go to them.
I would say do not doubt yourself. You can do it. You can do it. It will get hard. You will get anxious. But I would say make sure you ask for help, because what I simply did was, just inform TB and Mr. Newman about applications that were coming up. And it was like this: write a draft, you get feedback, and then turn it in and go on with the next application. And I will also recommend getting into the University of Pennsylvania's Rising Senior Summer Academy, because that helped me with my college process that I started in July. And yeah.
Well, for me, I would say start thinking about your personal statement, because that is a really important part of your application. And it's something I struggled the most on, and I didn't really get done to like October, November. So really start thinking about what you want to narrow it down to and what you want to write about, because in the end, it might change. And as many edits as you can is the best. Just really start thinking about it so that later on it doesn't come on and implode on you. And just don't stress about it, because in the end, you will go to college. It might not be where you want to go, but you will go to college, because they'll make sure you'll go to college. So just, you got this. You're ready.
All right, Ted.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. This was such a great way to kick this off. You can do it. You got this. I love the advice. This was so helpful. And I am now going to turn it over to Miss Finch, who is going to lead our next panel.
Thank you so much. Excellent job, you guys. Siani, Millie, Caleb, Jonathan. I'm so proud of you. I want you to go to college. Millie's right. You will go to college. Okay, so we have two parents here, Dr. Roberts and Mrs. Ng. Thank you so much for coming. So one of the things I would like to start off is asking you both questions. For our first question, how did you support your child during the application process? And whoever would like to start can go first. Just unmute yourself.
I have to say first that ENS did a fantastic job of helping my child. So I've got a child that already graduated. He's a junior at Pitt right now. And going through the process was harrowing in the beginning. ENS did a fantastic job of helping all of the kids do all of this work that I kind of felt like I didn't know exactly how to support him. But what I did do was, like Siani said, really encourage him, make him understand that it's important for him to write the 8 essays for these scholarships. And that he has them on file so he can just keep going and doing that hard work. So I found that the way that I could support him was to keep letting him know that he could do it, that this is hard and that this is new. And it's even new, it was new to me, and everything's completely changed since when I went to school, applying to school. So it was new for both of us. And then really backing up the counselors and making him advocate for himself. And we're going through it again with Simone, who's a 12th grader. But it's a kind of a harrowing process, but I'm really glad to be at ENS that does such a great job with the kids.
Okay, Alex.
I totally agree. I think we have the best school in terms of support and all the resources that are available to our kids. For me, as a parent, I tried to help my son stay organized. It can be a lot. There's a lot of dates, a lot of deadlines, and with his coursework and after school activities and clubs, it could get a little hectic. and overwhelming. So what I did was just trying to keep him organized and, you know, just supporting him and letting him know that I'm here if you need something. Just looking at my calendar sometimes. I'm very old school. I don't use, what do they call it? Google Calendar or one of those digital. I am just old school. I have a planner. I write everything down. So when he's got a test coming up, or if he's got a deadline coming up for an essay or an assignment, I try to write down everything and support him and reminding him, hey, you got this coming up, and just talking and being supportive and letting him know that I'm here if you ever need anything, and letting him know that he's doing a great job. So yeah, that's how I try to stay organized for him and for all of us.
And thanks, Miss Aang. What worked and what did not work?
Sorry, gotta learn to unmute and mute. Okay, so for us, I felt that just staying on top of things, like I said, having a calendar, whether it be a digital calendar or just a regular planner, and having your child also having a calendar or whatever they prefer to use, so that the two of you can help each other. Another thing that I found helpful was having my son add me as a, what do they call it? CC, a parent, like a carbon copy, a parent on the college board. That way, when he gets notifications for certain things and tasks that needs to be done, I get the notifications too, because I'm carbon copied on that. And I really like that, knowing what's going on with him. Another thing we did was, like all the students had said, starting early. So Alex and I actually started visiting colleges in his freshman year, like with Carver, the college visits. We started doing that, and also in the summer of his freshman year, we did that on our own as well. Starting early and visiting colleges, researching colleges that you think you might be a good fit for you, and having that list ready. Narrowing down that list. And the other thing we did was researching scholarships. And one of the scholarships that really attracted us was called QuestBridge. And I'll talk a little bit about that, but it was the reason why we were attracted to it was because it wasn't just a scholarship. It was an application and a scholarship in one. So it was a lot and a long process. He started in his junior year, which is about this time actually, as a QuestBridge prep scholar applicant. The deadline, by the way, is March 24th, if I'm correct. So it is open right now for you to get started. You start the application process as a junior. And what I like about it was, once you are accepted as a college prep scholar, your application actually rolls over in your senior year for the national college match. And then part of all that work that you did the first year in your junior year right now is done. So in your senior year, you have to fine tune it. Okay, make sure your numbers for your parents' financial aid, finances are still accurate. Make sure your extracurriculars are still accurate, or if there was something that you wanted to add or change. And essay, it's the same. But the majority of the work has already been done for the application process. And we like it because, well, for us, it's financial, finances. My son could probably get into this school or that school, but then how do I pay for it? And where do you go to get that scholarship? It's a separate process applying for a scholarship. Whereas with QuestBridge, if you become a finalist, you get to rank colleges that you would like to attend. And I think they have 45 partner colleges now. When Alex was applying, they had 42, so they're growing. And it was for us, it was the most wonderful thing because he got matched to his second choice. And it was like, you got into to college and there's a scholarship. So it was like one big, I felt like I won the lottery. I was so happy. So happy. I don't know how to explain the relief. Like it was like this big obligation that I had that I've been having nightmares about just vanished, and I was so relieved and so happy. So I highly recommend, because I know we have a lot of high achieving students at Carver, and I think we can do this. We can get more students involved in Questbridge and get more scholarships. And I just love the application process because it's just one shot. You get in and there's a scholarship. You don't have to apply for a separate scholarship. And that's what we love about it.
Absolutely. It's
Sorry to go on.
It is great. And it does pay for a lot. So I totally understand. How about you, Ms. Robbins? Is there anything that you...
As for a challenge?
Yeah.
During the whole college process?
What didn't work for you?
Okay, so I'm the mom that's sort of used to standing on my kid's neck, just sort of like getting stuff done with him, helping him along the way. I'm really glad that at an early age, I stopped doing that, especially when we came to Carver. He had to advocate for himself. He had to go talk to his teachers if there was a question. I'm not going to be the parent that comes into school to talk to the teacher about why my child's not doing well in their class. So one of the things that I find doesn't work is driving this process for your child. You have to allow your kid the autonomy to do things and suffer the consequences of not getting those things done. There are some things that Miles didn't want to do. I mean, he didn't want to apply to scholarships, or he did, but he didn't want to write the essays for them. But I have to say, Mr. TB, Mr. Newtman, both of them really sat down with him and said, you know what, you can do this. And they would come back. Miles would tell me, you know, I've got to rewrite this essay, but I've got all this other work to do. But in the end, it worked out for him. I didn't have to be that parent that drives the process, which is what kept me awake at night. Like, he's not going to get into school because I took my foot off the accelerator, and he isn't going to be where he wants to be. At the end, Miles is exactly where he wants to be. He did a wonderful job of applying for scholarships, advocating for himself, getting into a program that he wants to be in. And I find that that's really the key with a lot of the college process. We looked at Questbridge, we looked at a lot of different scholarship opportunities, and some things are a good fit and some things are not. Just like I would like him to go to a certain school, even with my daughter. I would like her to go to a certain school, but in the end, I'm not getting up for a 9 o'clock class to go across the campus. She is, he is. I'm not studying for these finals. They are. And I have to, parents, in my opinion, parents need to let go some of the educational oversight that we have done, because we do have high achieving kids, and I'm going to pat ourselves on the back because a lot of that has to do with their parents. But there's, we just have to let it go sometimes. And in the end, they're going to be fine. It's going to be fine.
Thank you so much. We have about a minute left in this section. So what advice would you both offer to parents right now? Dr. Roberts?
I would say advice, listen to your kid, talk to your child, listen to what they're saying. What is it that they see themselves doing if they got paid nothing, is what I ask my children. If you got paid no money, what would you get up in the morning to do? And then find a way to get paid to do that. Simone is very much interested in environmental science. Well, find a school that has an environmental science major. It may not be the school I wanted her to go to. but it's what she wants to do. And then listen to where they feel they're having challenges, and help them along the way, but don't solve that problem for them.
Thank you. Miss Ain, how about you? What advice would you give to the parents here tonight?
That was very good advice, and I totally agree with that. I just want to add one other thing that I had encountered. I noticed that Alex, when we were applying, we noticed something that some of these colleges were asking for that I didn't realize that they were asking for, and that's a resume. And I'm like, what? Why? He's not looking for a job. Why do we need a resume? But basically, he got one done. And I'm like, what? You got a resume done? And he goes, yeah. And I looked at it, and the resume actually helps you when you're sitting down applying. With that resume, he was able to see, okay, here's my coursework, here's what I did before, here's what I did now, and here are my activities, and here's everything was there on a piece of paper for him to look at, so that he's not trying to figure out, okay, when did I do this? And okay, did I forget this or forget that? But that resume, where he had everything and he can just look at it and fill in everything, helped tremendously. So I highly recommend helping or suggesting to your child to have a resume, which helps so much with the application process.
Thank you, ladies, so much. You did an excellent job. Thanks for coming.
Can I just add one more thing?
Sure.
If you get your financial aid package and it's not enough money, feel free to ask the financial aid offices for more money. Pittsburgh came back with no dollars for Miles, just a couple of loans. We kept asking, and he got scholarships that allowed him to go.
Super.
Well, that's an excellent segue into our next part. We're going to go over some of the things that we do. And one of the things we do is the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. And that's the form that parents and their children are going to fill out to find out what type of aid that you can receive for college. Okay. And it's not limited to just financial aid from the government, but it will also open the doors for scholarships, loans, grants, and even the work study program is under FAFSA. So what you're going to find out, you're going to, in the fall, usually October the 1st of every year, the seniors are able to apply for FAFSA. And you just go right to their website at www.fafsa.gov. And we'll get more into that. You're going to find a lot of information. Make sure you do use .gov at the end, because there are a lot of websites that try to charge you to complete the FAFSA form, but it's completely free. But seniors can apply for FAFSA on October the 1st of their senior year. But you can go and look at the website now to check what they are offering. They'll tell you what type of forms you're going to need. You're going to definitely need your tax forms. So those taxes that you're working on now for April, that's due April 15th of this year, is the taxes that you're going to be using for October the 1st when it opens up. But like I said, you can check the website now for FAFSA and see all the things that you're going to need for it. We do workshops here at Carver for FAFSA every year. We even do it at nighttime. So if you're going to be needing extra help with that, we'll have FAFSA workshops, and those workshops will be announced. You'll get information. Also, the district, the school district of Philadelphia offers pop-up FAFSA workshops throughout the city. And you can go to their website to get more information. And plus, check your emails and those robocalls that Dr. Domers sends out, because we'll let you know when those workshops will be coming up. Also, with FAFSA, you're going to get a student aid report. It's known as SAR. The student aid report is just an electronic document that gives you some basic information about your eligibility for federal student aid. And you're going to receive that when you complete your FAFSA form. with FAFSA, it's really based on your financial need, but there is no limit to what income you need on FAFSA, because if you're not eligible for financial aid from the government, it's still scholarships, can be something that you can get from filling out your FAFSA. The only requirements is basically you're a US citizen, or you're eligible non-citizen, or you're enrolled in students have to be enrolled in a degree or certificate excuse me, program. And males that turn 18, they are going to have to apply for selective services when they get 18. So you're going to receive what's called the expected family contribution, or EFC, and you'll hear more about these terms when you get closer to filling out the FAFSA for financial aid. You're going to get that expected family contribution, and it's a calculated type of figure that everybody's is going to be different. It looks at the cost of attending college. It looks at a lot of things, the students in your household who's already going to colleges already. So it's going to determine your own personal expected financial family contribution. And students, when they apply on FAFSA, they can list up to 10 colleges on their FAFSA form. But once they receive their student aid report, that SAR report, then they can add more colleges. So I would suggest you always do the colleges that you're interested in first, especially at Pennsylvania, because it will also, when you do a Pennsylvania college and you'll hear this and list that first, then it's going to generate that Pell Grant application to come up at the end. Okay. So also list at least one Pennsylvania college on your FAFSA. And then students are going to check with the financial aid department that they're interested in applying to find out about the deadlines, because every college has their different deadlines. So it's important to go in knowing what the college deadlines are so that you're not wondering. But it opens October the 1st, and the sooner you do FAFSA, the better, okay? Because colleges want to know what they can give you, and you might be eligible for merit grants at colleges, scholarships. All kinds of scholarships are available. And don't forget to do work study on FAFSA, because that's the only way you can be offered work study when you go to college. And of course, loans. That's another thing. FAFSA also opens the door for loans as well. So it's like the umbrella for all types of financial aid. Some colleges do ask for the CSS profile. That's the College Scholarship Service Profile. And that's usually a financial aid division with College Board. It's required by many private colleges and universities to determine your eligibility for non-governmental type of financial aid and scholarships. There are over 400 colleges that offer that. And you will, it's different from FAFSA, because FAFSA is federal financial aid, and CSS may be some aid from the colleges that they can give you if it's a private college, but you have to check with them to find out, okay? And then moving on to another thing, getting off FAFSA, because you're going to get more information about that. The other thing is the college letters of recommendation. There are going to be letters of recommendations, especially when students do the common application. They're going to require the letters of recommendation from both teachers and also counselors. So both Ms. Almeida and I will do a counselor letter of recommendation. We have a form that we give students. We send it out to them. They fill out the form, and then they send it back to us. And the sooner you start that, the better, because we have like at least 100 each to do. And then the teachers also do it as well. So students can find their best teachers for the subjects that they're going to major in, I would say, and try and get that financial aid. Try and get those letters of recommendation forms done as early as possible, because you don't want to wait. And most of the time, our students apply early, which is November 1st, the deadline. So no one should talk to me October 30th, 31st, because I'm dead into doing these letters or recommendation. So the sooner they start, the teachers are all listed in Naviance. I would suggest your child gets their resume together now. And that's everything from 9th grade on up to when they start applying. to start listening to things that they do. It makes it easier for the teachers to go in and write a letter of recommendation for them if they know more about their students. They can tell what they're doing inside of the classroom, but a lot of our students are doing so many great programs outside of the classroom that we need to know about what they're doing as well. And that would include any activities they're working with, both inside of school, outside of school. It's all important to a college. And our college reps can tell you, it's not just grades that make that student get accepted. You know, they want to know the whole picture because they might be looking for somebody that, I don't know, is into playing chess. I don't know. And they looking for students, or they might be looking for a student that really is well with sports. Who knows? Anything can bring them in. So they're unique. The uniqueness about a student is very important. So now is the time to start doing those things while you're thinking about it. Because I've heard a lot of students say writing things are the hardest thing for them, essays and resumes and things like that. But they can also ask for letters of recommendation from people outside of school too. It's not listed in Naviance. Like the names of our teachers are all listed in Naviance, and we send everything to colleges through Naviance, which you'll hear more about. But if they have a private person that knows they're an outstanding worker, they've done an excellent job outside of school, they can write a letter of recommendation too. But let me just warn you, and the colleges can tell you this, not all colleges want letters of recommendations. Some of them say, oh, just give me one, because they have a lot of applications coming through. And frankly, they don't have a lot of time to read a lot of them. So they might not even ask for it, but with the common application, it's required for us to still do a letter of recommendation for your students. So keep that in mind. If you have questions, you're going to hear more about that. But now's the time to start thinking about what teachers to ask. Miss Almeida and I will do it for all the students that do Common App. She has the students listed from A through K, and I have the students' last name are L through Z. Okay,
thank you, Ms. Finch. So I want to move us along. Besides, the work with financial aid, letters of recommendation, the other things that we offer is, we meet individually with the students, right? We need to get to know them. We interview them. We find out as much as we can about them. We also help them with their college list, and we make some suggestions so that they can expand their list to make sure that they have, a good fit. So they're not just going to be looking at, is this a place where I'm going to get in, but are you going to thrive there? Are you going to be able to afford it? Right? So we're talking about not just academic fit, but social fit and financial fit. The other thing that we offer is, and some of our college partners that are here, we ask them to come in and visit and talk to our students. This year was all virtual, right? But we organized, over 60, 70, 80 colleges that come in throughout the first half of the year between late September through December to meet with our students so that they get a chance to meet one-on-one, with a representative so that they can learn more about the programs that the colleges have to offer. We also maintain our website, and this is one of the things that I want to plug right now that you can visit. I will send out, emails to the students, to the senior class. Some of the seniors will let you know that I tell them when, the college reps are coming. The website also, my emails include information about the scholarships that are listed on the website. Everything we try to provide so that you have things hands-on and that you can access them as much as possible. Then the other thing that we do, again, is to process all of the paperwork for your children through Naviance. But I'm looking at our time, I want to also make sure that we tell you about the great resources, that Mr. Newman, our volunteer, offers, as well as the senior seminar. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Newman.
All right. I have been a volunteer at Carver for 6 years, Ted. My role really is to work one-on-one with students on their essays. That would be college app essays, specific essays for specific colleges, and also scholarship essays. In addition to that, I do one-on-one, sometimes with other people at Carver, essay practice practice interviews. And more, I think our students should, certainly if a college recommends an interview, you really need to take advantage of it, and you really need to prepare for it. Now that we've gone there's a lot of schools have gone test optional. I think the interview becomes much more important because it gives the college an opportunity to really gauge, is this student right for us? And is the student, or is that student, are we right for them? Common App essay, 650 words. Most students get really excited about the fact that it's 650 words. I'll never be able to write 650 words. My experience has been, once they start, the problem is not writing 650. The problem is stopping before they get to 1,000. I've had more students come to me with 800, 900, even 1,000 words saying, can you cut it back to 650 for me? And interestingly enough, generally speaking, we can. So college-specific essays sometimes are it's a 25-word or a 50-word short answer plus maybe another one that's 300, 500, even 1,000 words. Pitt, as an example, is 1,000 words for their essay. My point would be students get a 25-word or a 50-word and they think, wow, I can do that. That'll be easy. My experience has been that can be actually tougher than writing 650 words, because if you've only got 25 words, every word counts. So we work on that. As I say, I do work with students practicing their interviews. I heard a lot of good things tonight, made me feel good. What makes me feel best about a student is when they come back to me after we've done a practice interview and they say, they ask all the same questions you did. And I said, yeah, well, that's why we practice. So that's it for me. Well, I'll turn it over to the senior seminar team.
Thanks, Mr. Newman. My name is Mr. TB. I'm one of the senior seminar teachers along with Mr. Pomala. So all the seniors take a class called Senior Seminar. And the goal is to help everybody, whether they're way ahead of the game, going into senior year, or maybe they're a little bit behind, is to help everybody get across the finish line together. So applying for college in this day and age, it's like doing your taxes combined with your worst customer service experience ever, combined with writing an essay, combined, with being a 17 or 18-year-old. And it is truly a process. And so the goal of the class is to get everybody across the finish line together. And I won't say much more than all of the kind of finer points and details that have been discussed. That's what the class is. That's all we do in class is college applications. And so we have students that come in and they're, like Millie's and Philly Futures, they are doing great. And there are some students that need a lot of support, and that's all we do in the class. And so we're your first port of call should you need help. And I just want to as well thank the counselors who are on the call. And earlier this month was a National School Counselors Appreciation Week, but they are truly superhuman. I mean, they are just amazing. So shout out to them. And I'll pass it over to Miss Amanda to talk about SAT prep opportunities.
Actually, we're going to do that after, if you don't mind. So I want to make sure that we have time for our admissions representatives. So if you can, address what changes or shifts has your institution mandated, what do they change due to COVID regarding the application process? If you can address changes maybe to testing, changes in terms of, how are you looking at the application if students are, in the pandemic and they can't be as engaged as they were before because we're, in social isolation. If we can start with Ms. Dillingham.
All right, good evening. Thank you for having me. So my name is Sequoia Dillingham Johnson, and I'm the Assistant Director at Penn State Admissions Philadelphia. I've been with Penn State for a number of years, and I've had the pleasure of working with Ms. Olmedo and Ms. Finch for a long time. So I'm going to talk about Penn State and some of the changes we've made in response to the pandemic. One of the biggest changes we made as it relates to admissions is that Penn State, for the first time ever, is test optional. That was a big deal for us. We were one of the few remaining colleges that still required standardized test scores. But we are test optional. This was our first year, and we will remain test optional through fall 2023. Our hope is that after we see how successful this incoming class of students have been in terms of retention and matriculation, if test optional works, I think it's something that we're going to hold on to and keep. But as of right now, it's confirmed through 2023. So my juniors who will be rising seniors, it will be test optional for you. Since we will no longer, you don't have to send test scores. Students will still be looking at the majority of the decision being your 9th through 11th grade cumulative GPA. We haven't made any changes though to our recommendation and essay policies. They still remain optional. Ms. Finch said there are some schools that just don't have that opportunity. We get about 100,000 undergraduate applications. So we can't mandate essays and recommendations just because, well, we're just not equipped to reading them all, but they're something that can help students, especially if they fall on the border. There are times when we will take a look at those to make decisions on students, but for the most part, we focus on academic coursework, performance and honors IB or advanced placement courses, and involvement in activities and other achievements. Other changes that we've made, things that we offer to our current students, we made changes to like their current course modes. Students have 4 things they can choose to take their studies 4 different ways. We don't know what that will look like in the fall, but as of this summer, that still stands. Students can choose to take in-person courses where they are living on campus and they are attending socially distanced and safe courses during assigned course schedules. We also have a mixed mode where students will do they will do in-person and online coursework. We have completely remote synchronous instruction where students will attend all their classes remotely at specific scheduled times. And we've also allowed students to take remote asynchronous instruction. That is in conjunction with our World Campus, where students can basically work completely remotely at their own schedule. And so that is what we are doing this spring. We are basically just following the guidelines and the recommendations from the state to see what is going to happen in the fall. So we can't say we do not know for sure what the fall is going to look like, but that is what we are doing through the spring and the summer. The same thing for summer session. Students will have either they can choose to be remote or in person. In terms of athletics, and extracurriculars, the majority of our extracurricular activities and activities have resumed, but they are primarily in a virtual capacity. So we are still encouraging our students to be engaged and participate, but we do want to minimize any types of in-person activities. In terms of our sports, since Penn State is a big athletic school, University Park has resumed some of our Division I athletic programs. So we had a football season, although it got started late. The basketball teams are playing. Those athletic programs do take place without the presence of spectators. Campuses are continuing practice, and they're continuing to monitor and honor the recommendations established by by the state regarding gathering and social distancing. So our hope is that as vaccinations become more readily available, that we will see those opportunities open up and be more accessible to students. And in terms of testing for students who came to campus or lived within 20 miles of a campus, so even if a student was taking remote coursing but lived right off of campus, we did require that students have a negative COVID test result before they got to the university, and then they did a universal retesting, which was usually a rapid response test. And in the event that a student tested positive, we immediately isolated them either on campus or wherever it is that they were staying.
Thank you. The next person that I see on my Zoom screen here is Mr. Austin. If you can help us again, what shifts have been made in terms of the pandemic, the COVID at your institutions?
Sure. Thank you for having me again. So my name is Sarah Austin. I am currently the Director of Student Success and Wellness at Cheney University as of Monday. But this time last week, I was still an employee of Bloomsburg University, where I was the Assistant Director of Admissions. And so I'm gonna, I guess, kind of give you an overview of PASHE, which is what we call the 14 state universities in Pennsylvania. But there was many changes that we underwent at Bloomsburg with regard to the application process and visiting campus. One of the big things, similar to what Sequoia said at Penn State, we did go test optional. That was the first time we'd ever done that in the history of our admissions process. So students were not required to submit an SAT or ACT. We were primarily using their transcripts, so their high school GPA from 9th through 11th grade. We never required essays or recommendation letters. Those things were always optional. This year was no different. We encouraged students to submit them, but they did not have a negative impact on the application process if they were not submitted. In the beginning of the pandemic, we obviously canceled all of our in-person visits to campus. And then in the summer 2020, we did resume those. And we had those in the fall semester as well. And then toward the end of the fall semester, as numbers started to increase, we discontinued all of our in-person campus visits. And so we offered virtual visit opportunities every day, multiple times per day, for students that still wanted to interact with us and find out more about Bloomsburg University. I'm not 100% sure what Cheney did. Again, I've only been there for a couple of days, so I'm not sure how they handled those during that time. But I would say every PASHE institution may have chosen to do something differently. So if you end up looking at one of the 14 state schools, you'll certainly want to reach out to them on an individual basis to find out what their practices are. Beginning, I think on Monday, so this past Monday, the 15th, Bloomsburg began allowing in-person visits again. Well, I shouldn't say we because I'm not there anymore. They are planning to have multiple in-person on-campus events for prospective students. And so if there are any seniors that are here tonight and you're still trying to decide, you can do that. For the high school juniors, you'll just want to continue to watch the websites to find out what types of options are available. But one thing I'll plug is checking out schools virtually. I know it's not quite the same as doing an in-person visit, but many universities offer online virtual tours. The Bloomsburg University virtual tour was amazing. And I can say that because I designed it as part of my internship to graduate with one of my graduate degrees a couple of years ago. But check out schools virtually if you have that opportunity. In terms of courses on campus, right now, Bloomsburg University has 60% of its classes online, 25% are offered in person. And so in the last 15% are a hybrid of in-person and virtual. Again, many of the state universities are going to be offering similar opportunities as that. Similar to Penn State, we did have student activities on campus. One major, well, not major difference, but one of the things that we did is allow students to have, continue having their student groups meet, but they had to do so virtually so that we could allow for social distancing and to minimize any close contact. Before I pass it off, my advice to high school juniors is, and can I go ahead and answer that now, or was that something that you were going to get to later?
We're going to do one round for everybody at the end for that. So if we can hold off, Mr. O'Doherty, if you can talk to us about, changes in the admissions at CCP.
Not a problem. Thank you again for having me tonight. My name is Brian O'Doherty. I'm one of the, I'm the admissions counselor for George Washington Carver, directly from CCP. So obviously, like everybody else, we pivoted quite a bit since last March. I can't believe it's coming up on a year since I've been working from home, as you can see from my blinds and my picture behind me. So what we've done is we focused on getting high school students to send us their transcripts. For us, We still do the placement testing, but we are evaluating high school transcripts. So those transcripts that are 2.7 or higher do receive both English and math placement at a lower level. Obviously, the higher the GPA, the higher the placement is. So, 3.2 and above, you'll get an English 101 class to start with, along with a higher level of math. Anybody below a 2.75 does have to take at minimum our English placement, but they do have the opportunity to take math placement if they feel that they can place at a higher mathematics level. We also do take SAT and ACT scores, although they are not required. We do encourage students who have taken them that meet the minimum score for a placement test waiver to submit those. Again, we kind of pivoted like everybody else. For this current spring semester, we are fully online. There are some classes that are doing a hybrid, mostly our hands-on classes. So those in our automotive tech program, those folks who are in our healthcare programs, nursing, diagnostic medical imaging, and those programs that really can't be done in a full virtual format that have a hands-on component to them. On that side, we are likely going to have our first 2 summer semesters, the 7-week sessions that start in mid-May and mid-July, be fully virtual. As far as the fall, I don't know. To those of you who are looking to apply, as was mentioned, if there's any seniors, do keep an eye out on your email if you are in the application with us. Juniors, obviously at this point for the community college, it's a little early to be applying, but we do have all of our counselors available to assist with you. But again, I am the representative directly from CCP for Carver. So please feel free to reach out to Ms. Finch or Ms. Almeida to get my information. I'm happy to share as much as I can. I've been in college admissions for about 12 years at this point. I love what I do. Other activities we have on campus, we do have our athletics program. Right now, the conference we are working with has suspended most of the programs. We are not competing actively right now in the spring. And again, with the community college, we are actively keeping an eye on what the city and the mayor's office is telling us as far as what is safe to be in school versus virtual versus hybrid. Obviously, everything is a little bit back and forth and kind of a fluid situation right now. But at the community college, we are definitely looking to bring on students who are looking at our various programs. And I should mention, most recently in October, as part of our transfer partnership agreements we did add Shippensburg University as another one of our direct partners. So if you're looking to do your 2-year associate's degree with us and transfer to one of our transfer partners, we have about 13 to 14 college and universities within the state of Pennsylvania, and also one in New Jersey. Rutgers Camden is one that we've added out of the state. And these agreements will offer you acceptance to the college. They will offer you scholarship based on your GPA coming out of community college. And also they'll transfer you in as a junior, which is important for your financial aid side because it'll transfer you in with about 2 to 2.5 years left at a 4-year college. So you'll be paying a discounted tuition based on your merit scholarship, as well as not having to take out as much financial aid as well. So something to consider if you're looking at CCP.
Thank you. Mr. Moe?
All right. So hello, everyone. Andrew Moe, Director of Admissions at Swarthmore College in the suburbs. So I'll focus pretty exclusively on the admissions process and how that has changed. We have declared that we're test optional for 2 years. So this is the first cycle that we just went through with our seniors. We have dedicated that to our juniors as well. So we have been test optional for a long time for transfers and actually have CCP students at Swarthmore who have transferred. But this is the first experiment with test optional policies. I'll be honest, I was a little nervous, but so far so good. So if we look at our early decision process, which is our early process, about 49% of our students applied test optional. They didn't want us to look at their testing. They didn't take it. We don't ask questions. Of those admitted, 47% were test optional. And so it's very, very, very similar numbers when we say testing is not an advantage and the lack of testing is not a disadvantage. We really, truly mean it. And I do think that that's the case at a lot of selective schools like Swarthmore. We had to implement a lot of changes around that. So if you are applying on the Common Application and say, I want to be test optional, but I sent my score 2 years ago to you when I took the PSAT or SAT or something like that, we needed to implement a lot of policies around redactions so that I wasn't biased by your test score that you don't want me to look at. So we're doing all of these things behind the scenes. Know that we are very student-centered in our approach. We haven't announced exactly mechanically how it's going to work in this upcoming year, but just watch our website, get on our mailing list, and we'll let you know about that. No changes for essays or recommendations. We did implement one essay change, not because of COVID this year, but we have a short answer. We usually ask, why are you applying to Swarthmore? We noticed that that was really disadvantaging students who have not visited campus, who are first generation, low income. And so that is one of 3 options now. You can actually talk about your community, your intellectual interests. So we wanted to make sure that every student had that ability to really shine in that type of essay. We always require letters of recommendation, 1 from a school counselor, 2 from academic area teachers. Just like we talked about, you can send additional ones in if you'd like to. There's no expectation that you would do so. There is a new COVID response on the application, though. Counselors can fill that out, tell us what happened in the spring. Did you go pass fail? Did you, have a I don't know what that policy is called, where your grades can't go down, they can only go up, that sort of thing. So all schools are answering that question. If you as a student have been personally impacted by COVID, you can talk about that. And if you haven't, that's okay too. There's no expectation that you would answer that question, but that enables you to do so. Just in terms of expectations, right, we are looking contextually at your application. So we look at every student in their school context. We don't compare students from one school to another. And so when I look at your transcript and it has a bunch of passes, okay, it has grades, okay. So know that we are really trying to look at every student in the context of their school. We are looking at your advanced placement examinations for May 2020 with maybe a more lenient eye, because you have 5 siblings at home and everyone's running around while you're trying to take this test. We understand that, we get that. And so know that we're really trying to, again, be very student-centered. If you've had to discontinue athletics or anything that you're doing, again, we understand that. So please don't worry too much about things, having to stop in the spring and maybe you try to start it up, but it's not really working super well. Our people, our admission officers are really, I'm at home too. I'm with my dog barks in the background constantly. Like I get, sort of this and what you're going through. And so know that we are really trying to take a very student and person-centered approach when it comes to all of the COVID effects. And just like, my colleague said, really take advantage of those virtual opportunities. Like what Mr. Newman said, if you have the opportunity to interview, you should interview. If you have portfolios and you are a great musician, you should submit those. Those things can help you. But we don't just do things to, sort of put you through these hurdles. We really do these things so that we can gather as many little plus points along the way to admit you to a selective college like Swarthmore. And so I'll stop there. I know that we're going to go through advice as well.
Yes, if you can start us off then with what advice would you give to, our families now who are, going to be going through this process?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just do sort of a lightning round. One is apply to fly-in programs. So these are programs that might be virtual, but they might be all expenses paid trips to a college. They can help you. We have a high admit rate for students who participate in our fly-in programs. There's about maybe 80 or 100 out there. So if you are thinking about going to a selective school, that process is starting up very soon. Our nomination process has already started. Our application will launch in April. Focus on the things that you can control. Don't focus on things that you can't control, right? You can't control where you live. Just because, you're living in Philadelphia and not North Dakota, it doesn't matter. You don't live in North Dakota, right? So focus on your essays and the things that your counselors are telling you, because that will relieve some stress about what my friend is doing or what my mom did or whatever the case may be. Just focus on yourself and the things at hand. reach out to students. I think probably all of us have Carver students on our campuses. Reach out to me. I'll connect to you with with the students on our campus, because they're in a really good place to give you some advice and talk you through what it's like to be a student at CCP or SWAT or wherever it might be. And know that your counselors are here, right? So I visit probably half of all Philadelphia public schools every single year. And I can count on one hand how many folks like your counselors have reached out to me during this process to come and speak to juniors and their families, right? So you have a really good support system. They know a lot about what they're doing. Definitely use them as resources, just like you are. And know that admission officers are also resources. So you can reach out to us too. We will answer your questions. We will hop on Zoom. We will give you the tours, whatever the case may be, and know that we're happy to do that.
Mr. Austin?
Okay, I have 4 points. I'll try to go through those really quickly. One, create an email address that's specifically used for your college application process. If you already have one, create something totally separate just for your college application processes. Within your email address, create a folder for every school that you apply to. You're going to receive tons of emails from the schools that you apply to, and a great way to declutter your inbox or to not allow things to get lost, messages to get lost, is to put them in the folder. So if you apply to Swarthmore, if you apply to Penn State and you apply to Bloomsburg, each time you receive an email, put those emails in those folders. You may even want to create a folder for financial aid information or scholarship information. That will really help you to stay organized. Unsubscribe from emails or let the schools know if you do not plan to attend. There's no reason to clutter your inbox with emails from schools that you don't plan on attending. And then lastly, visit. That is one of the most important parts of the application process. If you cannot do so in person, visit virtually. Hopefully things are much better and we are able to do more things in person, but visiting is one of the most important parts of the college application process.
Thank you. Ms. Dillingham?
All right, I have a couple points. I'm probably going to reiterate some of the things that my colleagues said. Sarek said to come up with a separate email address, and I strongly suggest that because you definitely want to stay updated. If you have a list of top schools, see how they've altered their SAT and ACT policies. Just like we all announced that we've gone test optional, a lot of schools have made changes to their overall admissions process. So you want to stay up to date on that information. If it's applicable, inquire about how your top schools are now reviewing or viewing AP and IB scores. And you want to sign up for email updates and town halls and other information events. Sarek and Drew and everyone is saying the same thing about visiting. And so visiting is a little tough now, so think outside the box. Sarek mentioned virtual tours and online learning experiences. I think most schools have upped the ante in terms of their online and virtual opportunities. Penn State even has some online learning experiences that students can take part of. In fact, you can get up close and very personal with a large university like Penn State now from the comfort of your own home. And another way to think outside the box, and I think Andrew or Sarek mentioned it, connect with current students and alumni if you can. They are actually going to give you probably the best information as it relates to the institutions and their experiences there. So those are ways to connect if you can't physically get on campus. Tell your story. If you have an opportunity to talk about how this, this pandemic has, impacted you or influenced you, or how you've overcome certain obstacles, whether those were learning challenges or hurdles that you had to get over. This is a great time to talk about that. Colleges care about the effects of your health and your well-being, your safety and your family circumstances. So, make sure that you're getting personal and telling your story. Create a resume and an activity overview that is very helpful. I think Ms. Eng talked about the importance of that. And I would also strongly encourage students to revisit expand your horizons. Maybe last year you had an idea of what your best fit colleges are, but a lot of things in most people's lives have changed. So you might want to you want to make sure that the choices that you have align with both your academic needs and your preferences. You may notice that your priorities have shifted this year, considering the pandemic. So reevaluate what those top schools are and see if they still align with your needs. And then have realistic conversations about financial aid and affordability, because it is amazing and fantastic to get into schools, but you definitely still have to afford to go to those schools. And so having those realistic conversations early on will help shape and navigate your college search. And when you revisit your top list of schools, take notice of options you might not have thought about before, like campus locations, or having opportunities that are closer to home or online offerings. And then utilizing your resources. I think I'm reiterating the things that my colleagues said, your counselors, your college advisors, your admissions counselors, all of the programs there to help and support you. This is what we love to do. Most of us have been in it for years, and we offer ourselves the supports and resources. So I'm going to put my contact information and a couple helpful links in the chat. But I offer myself as a resource to help in any way that I can.
Thank you. Mr. O'Doherty?
Hi again, everybody. So just a couple quick things. My colleagues have done a fantastic job of talking about it. From my experience, ask questions. There's no question that's too odd. I think all of us as admissions professionals can attest that we've been asked some off-the-wall questions from both students and parents. And regardless of the answer, we want to let you know that we're happy to answer those questions. It's important. You want to be comfortable with your child going there, and you want your child as an individual to be comfortable at the campus that they're at, regardless of if they're living on campus or they're commuting back and forth. The thing that I always tell parents and students is know what you're getting yourself into. Spreadsheets are going to be key. You want to break down every single aspect of the admissions process for each individual university. I know that when I've worked with students in the past, it's easier to go through it that way. It's almost like a checklist. Okay, I've done this essay, I've done this, finished this application, I need to add my activities here. Organization is going to be key to your success. On the backside, as you move through the process, I think Dr. Robbins said this, and I really appreciate her saying that, is you have the right to appeal your financial aid package. I can't tell you the number of letters that I've read personally with financial aid departments at universities and college I worked at, of students and parents who weren't afraid to ask for more money. That financial aid package is not written in stone. That is a fluid package. If the university has more money to offer you, they have the ability to do that. So please make sure that you feel that you need more money to fund your child's education. You want to stay away from those loans, send in that letter of appeal, or however the university or college is having you do that. From us on the community college side and from the admissions side, I want to be your resource. Rely on your admissions professional, rely on your admissions counselor. Again, I am always open to conversation. Although CCP is not doing virtual tours right now, I am happy to hop on a Zoom. I'm working from, obviously working from home right now. Our campus is closed, but I have a lot of electronic resources we can run through and talk about different aspects of the college programs, that sort of thing. So again, organization is going to be key to the whole process. You juniors, don't let this type of conversation stress you out. You do have time. You have the resources. You are also surrounded at Carver by people who care and want you to be successful. So please understand that all the pressure does not have to be put on you right now. Take some time to yourself to enjoy your high school experience, as weird as it is right now with everything going on. But I do wish you best of luck. And again, if you're looking at CCP or if you have questions for me, your counselors have all my information as well. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much to our college admissions partners. I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Amanda for, questions that have come up on the chat.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Amanda, and thank you everyone for being here. We've gotten a lot of questions in the chat about the SAT, so just want to share 2 additional supports that Carver will be providing around the SAT. The first is a live virtual practice SAT happening on March 20th. You can sign up for that with a link that is in the chat. I just posted that. This is a live SAT where students who do it will also get a detailed score report that they can use for studying for the real SAT. It's a $50 value, but we're offering it for free, and it is first come, first serve for the first 100 juniors who sign up. So the link, the Google form for that is in the chat. The second support that we are offering at Carver is free SAT classes twice a week between April and May to prepare for the June SAT. And you can sign up for that also with the Google form. I'll put the links again in the chat. And we highly encourage you to take advantage of both of those supports. So with that being said, I think we can now move on to our questions. We'll start with questions that have happened around the SAT. So our first question is, what are the plans for the SAT for us? Is it mandatory to take it? So what, any of our school counselors like to answer that?
I can go with that one. It is test optional. So that means that you don't have to do it with some colleges. You should really check the college that you're interested in to find out ahead of time whether it's test optional or not. That means because of COVID-19, we realized that a lot of students didn't get a chance to take the SAT like they normally would have. If you've taken the SAT before and you want the college to have your scores, or you plan to take it and your scores are very good, send them in. The colleges are optional. That means they will take them, or they don't look down on you if you don't, because a lot of people are in your situation. Correct me if I'm wrong, colleges.
Okay. Nope. Right.
Great. Okay, so additional, Dr. Dermers, do we have time for a few more questions?
Why don't we pick one more?
Okay, great. Another question that we have, when will the Common App announce the personal essay prompt for next school year?
I have not seen anything from the Common App yet, but when they do, we will let all the students know. We usually send out an email. Again, you must check your Phila SD email. I send everything through your Phila SD email using Naviance. That's the way that I send out the information, for you during your senior year. So for the most part, they do tend to have the same prompts. And so if you start taking a look at those now, you can start your, ideas flowing and getting something together, right? But it's important to then finalize some things later along with the help of Mr. Newman and, the senior seminar team, as well as ourselves, so that you can have a very strong, essay.
Yep, and to build, Mr. TB, I also teach English 3. So to build on what Ms. Olmedo said, we're actually, every English 3 student's gonna write their personal essay this spring, as well as complete their resume to what Ms. Ang was saying earlier. So we're trying to get that done a little bit earlier on the English 3 side, so that by the time we get to senior seminar, some of that's already taken care of.
And the Common App does open in August, so you can check that. You have to be a senior to really apply, so you have to wait until August.
So thank you, everybody. Thank you to our admissions rep, Andrew, Brian, Sarek, Sequoia. Thank you so much for your time, for your insights, for your care for our students. Brian, I'm really inspired by and curious, maybe be the word, is sort of we've heard every question you can imagine. I wish I'd love to hear from each of you on one of those questions, but that's for another time.
Some pretty off the wall ones.
What's that?
Some pretty off the wall ones.
I can't even begin to imagine. But I just thank you, everybody. And again, just to reiterate, Miss Amanda just dropped it in, the resource list that we mailed to your homes. Please take a look at that. Please download that. We're going to send a follow-up email with questions that weren't answered, with some key takeaways from this. Please, please, please take advantage of the free SAT prep that we're offering. There's a free practice test with a detailed score analysis, a free course that we're going to offer that takes you through April and May, right up to the June SAT. You have nothing to lose by taking it with the number of scores that are test optional. We are here to support you. We know what an intense process this will be. And we really want to be here to support you, to help you look outside the box. As Sequoia said, broaden your horizons. Now's the time to search. Look at schools that you never thought of you might look at before, and really take it from there. So we are here from you. You will be continuing to hear from us, more from us. Ms. Finch, Ms. Olmedo, thank you so much. Mr. Newman, Mr. TB, Jonathan, I think you are our last student still here. Ms. Ang, Ms. Robin, Ms. Amanda, Mr. Caleb, thank you all. And to all of our families and students who spent 90 minutes with us tonight, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you didn't hear, if you weren't checking your email or on Twitter, tomorrow is a half day for snow. So that's a nice way to close this out as well. Have a wonderful evening. Be safe, everybody, and we will see you soon. So thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye, thanks.
Bye. Thank you. Good job.